So we'll be talking about must-know spot diagnosis of other lumps. So good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Jutika. I'm an associate professor with Department of Surgery in Bharati, and I'm sure there are many seniors out here. So good morning to all my seniors too. So we'll be talking about just diagnosing on looking at the patients, because surgery is something which you definitely need to examine. Without an examination, you cannot come to a conclusion because you get differential diagnosis, isn't it? But there are few things which you can just spot diagnose in seconds. So let's see what are those things. Now, must know swellings is always how to examine is important, and various types of benign swellings is something which we'll be talking about. So what are the different benign swellings we'll be dealing with today? They are the congenital मध्ये dermoid cyst, hemangiomas, inflammatory मध्ये abscesses, boils, carbuncles, erysipelas or cellulitis, traumatic असतात काही some swellings, and then miscellaneous you have sebaceous warts, condylomas. In neoplastic you have lipomas, fibromas, papillomas, neurofibromas, and so on. So there are a lot of n number of surgical swellings that we come to know. So of course, most of these swellings need a major diagnosis is very important. From your end, obviously, operative part may not be done, agreed, but if you can diagnose in prior, that will be of great importance. So how and when, I will talk according to the swellings. They are usually classified along to the origins, that is skin, subcutaneous tissue, muscles, nerves, blood vessels, or bone, depending on these. Bone swellings I have not taken out here because those I think let the orthopedics deal with. According to the consistency, we all know they are soft, firm, hard, or cystic. Now let's look at this swelling. This is classically a dermoid cyst. Now, how do you say that this is a dermoid cyst just by looking and not a lipoma? Remember, dermoids is always at the suture ends. So wherever you get those suture lines of the skull, those are the areas where you get the dermoid cyst. So this, how would you diagnose it? Then obviously you can palpate it. You can even feel for the indentation of the bone at times. The first thing that is expected is you get an X-ray done so that to rule out whether the bony indentation or bony penetration is seen or not. If not, then fair enough, we can always pose this patient for excision of this dermoid cyst. They are usually seen at the angle, outer canthus of the eye. Okay, they're usually at the outer canthus of the eye or in the center somewhere. Wherever there are suture lines, you'll find this dermoid cyst. Most of the times they are even on the scalp. Now this is another outer canthus dermoid cyst. This is one which is a post-auricular dermoid cyst. This is again confused by people in lymph node and a dermoid cyst. So let me tell you, lymph nodes will be very mobile, easily mobile into the skin, and you'll be able to move it around, at least feel. These swellings are usually not that mobile. They don't have much of a mobility. They stick to the underlying structure. Most of the times they have a small pedicle which sticks to the periosteum of the bone. So this is classical of a posterior auricular dermoid. Here you find a preauricular dermoid. So this is, one is post and one is preauricular dermoid. This now again is in the center. So this can have a differential diagnosis, many different diagnoses. But this, such a low lying swelling is most commonly seen into dermoid, which is centrally placed. So differentiation between lipoma, it is the pressure of finger and not slips away. What does that mean? If you see a toothpaste, when you press on a toothpaste, what happens? There is an indentation, ek khadda banto. Okay, that's called indentation. Similar indentations you can find on the dermoid cyst because dermoid has paste-like materials. Now, this is not always true. This is very much given into book, but most of you would say कि नहीं ऐसा होत नहीं. So I agree. Most of the times there are no indentations seen, but you can feel for the indentation in the bone. As they have already said, this does not have a slip sign. Lipoma, if you press from one side, slips to the other side. The edge of the lipoma slips below your finger and goes on to the other side. This thing doesn't happen with the dermoid cyst. If they're not infected well enough, if they're infected, you need an IND. If not infected, you can do an excision. So this is a small thing that I tried to show you out here, how you excise an inner canthus or an outer canthus dermoid cyst. You have to plan your incision so that almost scarless incision can be given to the patient. And this is how a dermoid cyst on table appears to be. There's something called as implantation dermoid, which commonly comes to your practice. That is acquired or a congenital dermoid, or due to pricking of the wound. Maybe certain people have the sewing machine guys, the people who sew clothes. They get traumatized by pin pricks a lot number of times. So these are the people who will come with implantation dermoids to you. Common manual workers or sewers. Then overlying skin is something sometimes scarred. That means there's multiple times of trauma, so you get a little scarred skin. So this is another place where you can have a dermoid. Most patients come with implantation dermoid on your hands. There is no other places that they appear to. So this is another patient with an implantation dermoid. Okay, so this is classical of implantation dermoids. These are again external angular dermoids. Another pictures which we could find internal angular dermoids. The other swellings which you can immediately see are meningoceles. Okay, meningoceles is quick and easy to diagnose. You all know it very commonly. These patients are diagnosed on birth by the gynecologist and handed over to pediatricians. They rarely come to you, but many home delivery cases obviously can appear to you. You cannot do much about these patients. All you have to do is refer to the pediatricians to go ahead with the excision. There are many other complications even post excisions. So this is another meningocele that we have seen. It is classically in the center of the backbone along the spine. So you can find them anywhere. It can be in the center, it can be low-lying meningocele, or it can be a high-lying meningocele. Many a times you can see a meningocele even at the gabella. That is because the cribriform plate is very weak, the weakest part, and from there also the brain and the other contents can aggregate. So now this is the how do you do it? The number of it is seen in numbers, that is single, multiple, or these swellings can come in different shapes, sizes also. So in number there are multiple. If you find multiple, they are usually neurofibromatosis or lipomatosis. That is also called as Derkham's disease. So this is something which which patients come to you with. You cannot do much to it. Okay, you cannot do much to it unless and until, of course, one of the swelling is really too difficult for the patient to manage, then you can excise it. But it is not going to help, it will keep coming. So this is neurofibromatosis. This is another neurofibromatosis. Okay, this is multiple lipomatosis, also called as Derkham's disease. So where you get multiple lipomas. Neurofibromatosis, you will find these patients, they'll be very closely placed, and they will be numerous. Whereas lipomatosis, they are a little bigger swellings and usually at a distance. Okay, they are very classically bossulated appearance that they give to the skin of the patient. So based on color also you have certain swellings like arterial hemangiomas or venous hemangiomas, malignant melanomas, benign nevises, or ranulas. So what are these? Now these are the arterial hemangiomas. So arterial, again, artery has red, bright red color. So these are bright red hemangiomas which appear on the skin of the babies most commonly, less likely on the adults. Venous hemangiomas you see most commonly on the adults. They are dark or bluish hue. They have a bluish hue appearance. This is classical venous, not arterial, because usually the veins, the vascularity of the scalp with veins is huge. So they may not appear classically blue. But this, if you see in the adult or in this lady, you can see a nice hemangioma, venous hemangioma on her tongue. This is something called as capillary hemangioma. These are very tiny, small, and you can see thread-like veins around it usually. So these are the small thread-like veins which you can see around it. So these are classical of capillary hemangiomas. Next are moles. Now here regarding nevus, of course, there are multiple things that you should know in a nevus. So I thought we'll put up this. So moles are the ones which contains excessive quantity of melanin from the melanocytes. So you call them a mole, which is commonly seen with every person present here, even in the group. There is something called as hairy mole, smooth mole, and blue nevus. So hairy moles, you will find these patients would have a mole and there will be hair follicles seen within it. So they are flat, slightly raised above the level of the skin sometimes. They can be smooth or slightly warty in appearance. That is epidermal covering it can have. Warty in appearance like खरखरीत ज्याला आपण म्हणतो तसं. And the hair grows from its surface. Smooth moles, their surfaces are usually not elevated. Smooth itself tells you it is not elevated. It is usually along with the skin. Okay, the epithelium is smooth and there is no hair growth. Pigment is deeper. It is very deep seated and deeper pigments are seen in smooth moles. The blue nevus, it is classically blue in color. It has a blue hue. Okay, it is not jet black, but it has a blue hue. So these blue nevus, they occur deep in the dermis, as thick overlying layers of the dermis and epidermis mask the color of the melanin and may look blue. All right. So overlying skin is smooth and shiny, commonly seen in face, feet, buttock of children. All right. So this is junctional nevus. Now, junctional nevus is, as the name suggests, these are the clusters of cells of various stages of maturity in the epidermis and dermis. So when the growth and the movement of melanocytes stop, before they migrate into the dermis. So they stop and migrate into the dermis. The centered around the junctional or the basal layer of the epidermis. So this is classical. Okay, junctional nevus. They are centered around the junctional or the basal layers of the epidermis, immature, unstable, and these can turn malignant. So this is something which is of a little worry point for us. Smooth and elevated nevus of all shades you get in this, and they are found on palms, soles, digits, and genitalia. Then there are compound nevuses. Two distinct varieties of moles are present in intradermal and junctional. So this is something which I cannot show a picture of because you cannot differentiate. It needs to be differentiated on the history, on the pathological slide. Then lastly, freckles, which we all know about. Okay, freckles is something which which you all know. They are areas of dark pigmentation found on face and neck. Their smooth surface, however, there might be junctional activity and may turn malignant. These may turn malignant, but not always. This is very rare that it happens. Most of the white people, you see these pigmentations on the face and neck very commonly. Freckles are not common in India. So this is something how a benign nevus looks like. Okay, it has a bluish hue. Again, this picture is a little blurred, benign nevus. This is a malignant melanoma. Now, those two were the benign nevuses. I'll go back. This is a classical of benign nevus, but this is something called as a malignant melanoma. Now, this you cannot forget. You will have as if there is a pustule. It will appear as if there is a pustule on the top, which is bled and it is dark red blood into it. They appear like this. They classically appear like this. This is something which you should immediately refer to the physicians ahead, because this needs to be treated. Then this is another malignant melanoma. These are clusters of small malignancies of these melanotic patches which appear. This is also another malignant melanoma. So this is very classical of malignant melanoma, and you cannot forget this picture. This is a flared of malignant melanoma. This is almost advanced stage of malignant melanoma, which you will always find a black colored, this dark black colored patch or bleb kind of a thing, or what you call is a pustule kind of a thing on these foot or any places that they appear. This is very classical, very easy to diagnose, but one of the most deadly disease. You should definitely refer it at early years. Then something called as ranulas. Now, what is ranulas? These are cystic swellings in the floor of the mouth, mucus extravasation from sublingual salivary gland, basically. So whatever is the mucus, it extracts from the sublingual salivary gland. This is also called as certain places they're called as plunging granulomas because they extend from the floor of the mouth into the muscles, into the neck. Okay. So they have an extension. So they are called as plunging granulomas. The treatment is, again, you have to excise it. There is no other way out. This is very classical and easy to diagnose swellings which are seen in the mouth. See, this is another ranula in this girl. You'll find a huge swelling, smooth in surface and bluish hue, which is classical of ranulas. It is a cystic swelling. Then there are certain visible pulsations of swelling. Now, this I cannot show you the visible pulsations out here because it was on a very short notice. Otherwise, I would show you some videos. Remember, there are two types of pulsations. One is expansile pulsation, and one is a transmitted pulsation. So you should know these two pulsations very distinctly, because expansile pulsations are something which we really need to worry about, whereas transmitted pulsations we are not much worried about. So how will an expansion pulsation, look like, and how would a transmitted pulsation look like? Remember, it is in the word. expansile. So something that expands. Okay. So these expansional swellings usually arise from arteries, or they are usually the aortic aneurysms or carotid body tumors. You will find a classical expansional swellings, or if you put two fingers on the swelling, suppose if there is a swelling here on the carotid artery, and if I put my two fingers on this swelling, when with every what you call pulse, this swelling, my finger should move apart. Okay, it should move apart with every pulsation. So that is an expansional swelling. That is very classical how you can diagnose it. And transmitted pulsations are like, suppose if there is an underlying artery and a swelling is lying on that. So if I put a finger on the swelling, it will just move up and down because it is transmitted pulsation of the underlying vessel. So there are two different things in this. Okay. So why I'm saying this is very important, because aortic aneurysms are something which can be missed drastically, and it can be a problematic situation, specifically if they rupture. So these pulsations are usually synchronous, not usually, they're always synchronous with their heartbeat. Okay. Remember, do not touch the patient during inspection. If you touch them overall, you will not see. But still, you will say कि अभी तो आपने बताया कि you should put two fingers. So you can gently put two fingers to see the pattern of expansor. Okay. If you don't want, if you can visibly see, fair enough. No enough. I mean, there's no two ways about it. But that comes with practice. To prefer, I prefer the two finger test, which is very easy to notice. So this is something as abdominal aortic aneurysms. Now, ideally, I cannot show you like this here pulsatile, but these usually are pulsatile swellings. They are often asymptomatic. These patients do not present with anything but with a swelling. Frequently detected, very less likely they get detected, because this is the area of even swellings of what you call pancreatic cyst and all that. So you can easily misunderstand. So best is to look for the expansile things. So on physical examination, you'll find a pulsatile mass in the periumbilical area, and bruit may be auscultated. So the other way is you put a stethoscope on it and you can hear a bruit. That is nothing but a gush of blood flowing from the vessel that can be easily heard on auscultation. Okay. So these patients, you need a CECT immediately. So advise for a CT scan at earliest, preferably with contrast, because that's a better way of seeing this. And immediately refer these patients to higher centers with vascular surgeons institute. Then there are something called as positive cuff impulses, where you see the cuff impulses that you see in swellings. You all know a hernia shows a cuff impulse. A meningocele can show a cuff impulse. A varicocele can show a cuff impulse, and a siphanopharynx can see cuff impulses. So easiest way to diagnose certain swellings is to look for cuff impulse. So now hernias you all know, so I didn't put up any great hernial different pictures. But otherwise, the different hernias that we get to see is one around the umbilicus, in the epigastric area, certain are incisional, certain are femoral, then direct and indirect hernias of inguinal canal, and so on. So that is a way to get a different chapter to be discussed. It's a huge chapter. Anyway, but all of you know hernia, so I don't want to go in depth of it. These are the where you see cuff impulse. Yes, not always, because if they're obstructed, you will not find a cuff impulse. Then the other must know diagnosis may meningoceles, which I told you. So these are the different types of meningoceles. Remember, these are brilliantly transilluminant. So another way of diagnosing it, if you put a light and you see it, it will be brilliantly transilluminant swellings. So this is very classical of it, and you can easily see this swelling. Sorry. Varicoceles, I'm sure I'll close this. Okay. Varicoceles, you all must have come across some of the other time. So these are nothing. This is like having varicose veins. Okay, ideally, because the valves in these, you have tympaniform plexus. These are the ones which swell up. Okay, so there is collection of blood into it, and it looks like bag of worms. So the symptoms of varicocele will be, sometimes the varicocele may present with mild symptoms or none at all. The symptom usually is pain or discomfort. There are visibly enlarged veins in the scrotum, discomfort in the scrotum and testicles. This may become worse during physical exertion, particularly over a long period of time or over the course of the day. That is at the end of the day. Then swelling in the scrotum may or may not be associated. A lump in the testicle may or may not be appreciated. And there is decreased fertility, which is of concern for many young boys. Okay?
So it should be noted that varicoceles are more commonly found on the left side of the scrotum, and they can occur in the right side. However, it is rare. They can occur in both the sides at sometimes. That is also again rare. Why on the left side? Because of the angulation of the vein, the testicular vein, and its angulation with the renal vessels. So you find, and many other causes, of course, but this is one of the most prominent cause which leads to varicocele. You can find it even if the tumor cells are dislodged into it and can lead to varicocele. So this is one thing. Now here, Siphonovarix is something which I have tried to show. Again, this is an expansile cuff impulse where you can see a proper cuff impulse at the femoral junction. Okay, siphanofemoral junction. That is the long saphenous vein and the femoral vein junction la. That is nothing but Siphonovarix. So there is a saccular enlargement, sac-like. Saccular is sac-like. Sac-like enlargement of the termination of the long saphenous vein. Why this is a termination? Because the vein goes from below upwards. So it terminates into the femoral vein. So termination of the long saphenous vein. Usually accompanied by other signs of varicose veins as well. That means you can have lipodermatosclerosis, itching, blackening, pigmentations and all that. Disappears when the patient lies flat. So when he lie down flat, it will get empty. So automatically this Siphonovarix will disappear. In both, there are impulse on cuffing. You'll find cuff impulse obviously, and a venous hump can be heard if you put a stethoscope. A hump is a sound, okay? A humping sound, a venous sound can be heard on this stethoscope. So this is something as varicocele again shown. Now this is very classical. This is the main testicular vein, and these are the pampiniform plexus which form a single. Later, it forms a single testicular vein, and it is at right angles to the renal vessels. That is the reason why this right angle angulations can usually sometimes give a varicocele. Now, depending on surfaces also, it is easy to diagnose certain swellings. Smooth swellings or cystic swellings are usually, they are very smooth, the cystic swellings. Lobular ones are the lipomas. They are very lobular. Nodular are the, classical is the multinodular goiter. You find different nodules in it, okay? Then there are certain matted swellings. In lymph nodes, you find every nodule stuck to each other. एक lymph node separate लागत नहीं. एकाला दूसरा जोडलेला हाताला आरामात लागतो. So it is very classical of tuberculosis. And irregular swellings, which all of us know as malignancies. So sebaceous cyst, we all know it doesn't lie in the skin. It lies in the fat pad or in the subcutaneous tissue. Remember that. So it is basically a swelling from, sorry, what am I talking? The sebaceous cyst actually lies in the skin and not in the fat pad. Why? Because the sebaceous glands, which are very close to the hair follicles, they have a opening very close with this hair follicle on the skin, which has pores. Okay, these openings are like pores. So whenever these glands or the duct of these glands get blocked, they lead to collection of this sebum, and this collection of sebum appears as sebaceous cyst. So always remember this collection of sebum over here definitely has a duct which gets attached to the skin and appears as a pore. Okay, the opening appears as a pore. If you have any question, I don't know, I'm getting such. Okay, sorry, I thought somebody is texting me. I'm so sorry. Okay, so these swellings which appear, they have a mouth towards the skin. So these pores obviously where are attached to the skin, you will have there some attachment of this gland into the skin. So if that is the situation, what will happen is the skin above this swelling will not be pinchable because the swelling is adhered somewhere at some point to the skin. At the same time, wherever is this punctum which is blocked or the pore that is blocked will appear like a punctum, a spot, a black spot or a bluish spot on the skin surface. Okay. So this is very classical signs of sebaceous cyst. You can easily differentiate them from lipoma in many other ways also. But there are three differentiations which are very classical about it. Sebaceous cyst will have a punctum because the pore is coming and adhering to the skin. A lipoma doesn't have it. Then the sebaceous cyst, the skin above it will be not pinchable at a certain point. Why? Because of the punctum again. But the lipoma, the skin above it can be easily pinchable. because it lies in the subcutaneous tissue. Okay, so automatically when there is some attachment to the skin, these sebaceous cysts will not be mobile. They cannot move around because they are fixed. They are attached to the skin. Whereas these lipoma are not in the skin; they are in the subcutaneous plane, so they can easily move about. So there is a slip sign which is easily seen in a lipoma. Okay, so these are certain ways you can differentiate between the two. So let's see now the different swellings. Now this is a smooth surface of a sebaceous cyst. Obviously now I cannot show you the tiny punctum here, but there is another, will come, there is another picture also which I have that which shows punctum. This is also a sebaceous cyst and not a dermoid cyst. Again, it is very difficult. If you ask me, is it easy to distinguish between the two? Then no, it is really not. But one classical thing you can know, if you know the different sutures of the vault or the skull, okay, the suture marks or the suture lines, where they appear, most commonly there you will find the dermoids. Okay, and if the area you think is not near the suture line, again it can be sebaceous cyst, but it's very difficult to differentiate between the two because consistency wise also almost they are both same. Indentation, as I always told you, it is not always present. The indentation is not always there. Again, both are slow growing, so again it's difficult to diagnose. Skin in the scalp, forget about pinching it because the scalp barely has an area, so you cannot pinch. So again, you cannot differentiate it. Then you'll ask me, well, then madam, how to differentiate this? Then yes, I know it is a difficult job, and punctum tar bharpur sare because there are so many hair follicles. So everything looks like a punctum. So again, you cannot appreciate a punctum on the scalp. But yes, there is a way to differentiate it. Number one, most of the times we advise a CT skull, okay, the bony window. If the bony window is not adhere, I mean, the swelling is not adhere to the bony window, yes, for a small swelling, we do advise CT scan. If the CT scan, you need to advise why? Because most of this dermoid cyst can be in communication with the brain. So it's not an easy job when it is on the scalp. Frontal Vartiasla dermoid cyst, it is no problem because there are two bones on the frontal side. So since there are two bones, even if the first bone is damaged, maximum काय होईल air sinus मुळे air बाहेर येईल. So there is no harm. Patient's brain is intact. But here it is communicating with the brain on the scalp above. So definitely go for a CT scan. Kharcha will do. There's no problem rather than an on-table drama. So best is go for a CT scan. See if it is connecting. If it is not connecting, label it as sebaceous. Okay, it is very classical, but you can't help, especially when it's on the scalp. So this is another sebaceous cyst where you can see a small punctum here, tiny small punctum here. I cannot show you the zoom vision. So this is this very small tiny punctum which is visible. And this I'm trying to show you is because we take an elliptical incision when it is a sebaceous cyst. Remember, a sebaceous cyst, you need to take an elliptical incision. The portion which is adhered to the skin needs to be out. Okay. Now I would not take such a huge elliptical for this lady over here because I need to mobilize skin. But definitely I would like to go a little closer to the skin so that if I pick it up and then remaining portion I can slowly get separated from the other part of the skin and remove the sebaceous gland intact. If you do not remove the sebaceous gland intact, then it can recur because this capsule is still left behind. Okay, so this is another sebaceous cyst. Most of the times these come into general, these glands come into general practices as infected sebaceous cyst. You have no option. Just do an IND and scoop out the material. That's it. But tell the patient this may recur again because during abscess formation, you cannot see a capsule separately. Everything is pus. All right. Now, this is an interesting picture which usually Love and Belly had initially. So this is a sebaceous horn. Okay, this is something which I really like in the sebaceous gland. Like in the sense, I like to show in the sebaceous gland slide. So this is a sebaceous horn where the sebum keeps on getting collected, coming out and keeps on getting collected, and it forms an horn. Okay, so this is a sebaceous horn, very classical. Anyway. Now, multiple, as we said, there are multiple swellings that can be seen, which are together, like nodular. So, multiple nodular swellings are very classical of MNGs. This nobody can ever miss. But yes, the hitch is whether these are malignant. So, for that, you definitely need to do before even referring, if you can ask the patient to get an FNAC done or a CT scan done, there is no harm because this huge swelling, once you refer, we are obviously going to undergo a CT scan and a FNAC. then it's easy to diagnose. As you all can see it, it's a multinodular goiter. There are so many different varieties of these goiters which are seen, the shapes and size that are seen. This is classical, the butterfly shape which we can see here. So this is a multinodular goiter, and the first thing you need to do is, of course, examine the patient, and later you need to get a CT scan of the neck done, a FNAC to be advised to this patient. If you have your friends who are pathologists, get an FNAC done and then refer to the surgeons wherever needed to get it operated, or so on and so forth. You can always get a T3, T4, TSH levels done, because for any surgery, we need the patient to be euthyroid. Euthyroid is, the level has to be euthyroid in the sense that all the levels should be almost in the normal range. Okay, hyper is something which is a little difficult to manage on table as well, so you can do not operate. You need to bring it down, the levels need to be brought down. So these are certain basic investigations which we need to do in this patient. Next is the lipoma, which I was talking to you about. As I already told you, it is in this fat pad. It is in the fat tissue. It is a swelling of the fat tissue by default, which develops a small capsule around it. So now this is a multiple lipofibromatosis. So now you'll tell me why. Once you say it is lipomatosis, once you say it is lipofibromatosis, trust me, they're almost one and the same. When it comes clinically to operate, they're almost one and the same. The only thing is lipofibromatosis, there are little fibrosis. So these are a little more firm rather than soft. And then these will be slightly difficult to excise because they'll be so closely fixed together that even if you want to excise this will have to be excised in one row completely. So it's little messy. But almost all of them are, there is nothing called malignancy in this. They're all benign swellings. The lipomas are really soft swellings which you can easily palpate, smooth soft swelling. Fibromatosis मध्ये थोडंसं तुम्हाला fibrosis हाताला लागेल, a little कडकपणा, firmness. Okay, how do you judge that? Your lips are soft. The feeling of your lips are soft. Your nose tip is firm. Okay, remember that. And anything that is hard has to be like your forehead. So if these are the different consistencies which you can diagnose with. Remember, lip is soft, this is firm, and this is hard. Lip can be soft and cystic मध्ये दोन्ही मध्ये same consistency लागते अशी. Okay, cystic मध्ये you will get that bumpiness. बलून वरती तुम्ही बोट ठेवल्यावरती जसं फील येतं तसं cystic swelling ला येतं पाण्याने फुललेल्या बलून मध्ये. So this is another lipoma on the shoulder. This is a lipoma on the back that is very classical. This is at the nape of the neck. Remember, all these margins are well defined for the lipoma. This is a huge lipoma on a small boy's back. You can get even a pedunculated lipoma, where there is a peduncle म्हणजे stalk किंवा फांदी जसं म्हणतो आपण तसं. So there is a peduncle and there is a huge lipoma down there. So such pedunculated lipomas can also be seen. Now lymph nodes. So this is a generalized picture that I'm trying to show you here, that where all you can get the lymph nodes. Okay, we in the books you have a lot of lymph node informations like the triangles of the neck and the different lymph nodes situated in that. Remember, usually what you get in the supraclavicular regions or around this jugular areas are usually malignant swellings, not always, of course, unless proven otherwise. And posterior triangles are notorious for any infective lymph nodes, which can be even tuberculosis. So posterior triangle मध्ये शक्यतोवर आपल्याला TB चे lymph nodes दिसून येतात. This is not a hard and fast rule because the entire body of human body is like a Pandora's box anyway. So these are the cervical group of lymph nodes which you can see over here. This is formed a lymph node mass. Okay, they're all together, they are matted, they're so much matted together, stuck together, that it has formed a lymph node mass. This is classical of tuberculosis. Remember that when it forms a lymph node, classical lymph node mass. And this is another huge lymph node here, which could be or could not be malignant. I cannot judge or tell you right directly by looking at it, but at least you can have a little DD of lymph nodes. Neck swellings are many, n number of swellings anyway. Then these are carcinomatous swellings. Now here you need to know what is SCC and what is BCC. Okay, how they appear, how they look. Always remember, and squamous cell carcinoma, you will find it is spilling over. Okay, the cells are, they spill over. So you will find all everted edges. म्हणजे जे काय तुम्हाला दिसेल ग्रोथ दिसेल त्याच्यामध्ये असे इव्हर्टेड एजेस दिसतात, सगळे स्पिल ओव्हर झालेले कार्सिनोमॅटस ग्रोथ. Like for example, this is a spilled over growth. Okay, So carcinomatous spillage, everted edges are very classical. Again, these are small SCCs that you can see. Now, how do you judge this? That whether this is malignant or this is benign? Then yes, we need to take a small edge biopsy and send it for histopath so that they let us know. Most of the times, patients which come to you all with burns, the burns cases that get treated at small clinics, which can be actually easily treated even in small clinics. But these cases, if you have, or the silencer burns cases, if you have a long history that these ulcers are not healing, you have tried n number of days and it is not healing usually, which should heal in a particular amount of days that you have estimated, then please take an edge biopsy and send for an histopath. Edge biopsy should include the normal skin and the ulcer, okay, both, so that, and send it, because always remember, uh, squamous cell carcinomas, the carcinomatous cells spill out. So on the edges, it will be more. Okay. And there's something called as Marjolin's ulcers, which are small, low grade squamous cell carcinomas found in burns patient, in burns wound. Okay. So if the burns wound is not healing for a longer time, I would like to request you guys to please take a small edge biopsy and send it for histopath, so that if at all it comes negative, fair enough, you can continue with the dressings, scooping out the wound and again trying with some of the other pattern of dressings. But if it doesn't, and if it comes out to be malignancy, then you need to refer it at earliest to the higher centers. Then this is BCC, basal cell carcinomas. Remember, BCCs are usually, they erode into the surrounding areas of the skin. Okay, they just erode. Basal cell carcinoma, so they erode at the base of the skin. They keep on eroding into the skin and causing damages. So there are various types. You need not go into the deep of this, but most of the times the BCCs that get missed are these ones. काहीतरी फोड आल्यासारखं वाटतं and it gets missed. Easiest to diagnose are these basosquamous. Basosquamous BCCs are easy to diagnose because they get that scaly appearance and you come to know there's something wrong with this. This doesn't appear to be a normal swelling and you tend to refer. And the other easier ones are the pigmented BCCs. Now these pigmented BCCs may be misunderstood to melanoma, but remember, melanoma doesn't give such halos in between. म्हणजे emptiness, halos in between नाही देत. Pigmentation असं मधून मधून आल्या असं देत नाही. They give a classical, in fact, huge bump of pigments coming together. Okay. So the other lesions which I would like to, which you can easily diagnose, is the oral cavity. There you have pre-malignant lesions and then the malignant lesions. Pre-malignant madhe, please remember, there's something called as leukoplakia. Many patients having tobacco chewers will come to you with this white patches. So do not miss this white patches. They are very important to us. These white patches can be again two types. One is like the map सारखं, हा कसा असा मॅप काढल्यासारखा वाटतोय, म्हणजे प्लेन आणि असा मॅप सारखा. आणि दुसरं येतं ते सबम्युकोझल फायब्रोसिस. त्याच्यामध्ये क्लासिकल असे फायब्रोसिस किंवा थिकनेस किंवा थिकंड व्हाईट पोर्शन हाताला लागतो खरखरीत. ओके, so that is very classical of submucous fibrosis. Now these are very pre-malignant conditions. So submucous fibrosis is something which we need to worry about. Secondly, submucous fibrosis जर असेल तर you can even check the mouth opening. Check whether it is one finger. म्हणजे कसं की दातांच्या मधली स्पेस. So 1 finger, 2 finger, 3 finger. That is how you check the mouth opening. Submucosal fibrosis मध्ये most of the times the mouth opening also decreases. So आपण जर 4 बोटं टाकू शकतो, minimum 3 ते 4 बोटं patients टाकू शकतात. त्याच्याहून कमी होते म्हणजे it is causing submucosal fibrosis in the cheek and causing little amount of trismus. So now pre-malignant lesions मध्ये leukoplakia, these are chronic white mucosal maculae which cannot be scraped off. तुम्ही त्याला काढायचा प्रयत्न केला होत नाही, ते मॅप आल्यासारखं येतो म्युकोजावर. Okay, cannot be given any another specific diagnostic name and does not disappear with removal of potential etiological factors. म्हणजे तुम्ही जरी टोबॅको चिवून बंद केलं म्हणजे तरी हे जात नाही. इथे लिहिले एक्सेप्टिंग टोबॅकोज, but no, it still doesn't go that easily. Okay, they are 4 to 18% progress to invasive carcinomas. They can land up in that. And another is erythroplakias. Erythroplakias मध्ये you will find all red color patches. Same map पण लाल रंगाचा. Okay, so किंवा त्या erythroplakia मध्ये तुम्हाला असे पांढरे dots पण दिसतील. Okay, many times it is red inflamed inside the mucosa with small tiny white dots. They are very classical of erythroplakia. So this is a clinical diagnostic term. A chronic red mucosal macula which cannot be seen, cannot be given another specific diagnostic name and cannot be attributed to traumatic, vascular or inflammatory causes. You cannot relate this. त्याचा काही संबंधच येत नाही. तुम्हाला classical दिसतंय. Okay? And you can easily exclude those diagnoses. They have a higher risk of cancer development, about 30%. So these red patches are something which you should be really worried about. If these patients come to you, what you have to do? Of course, if you can take a small biopsy and send it for histopath by giving local there. If you do not, then there's no problem, but refer them at earliest to the higher centers so it can be managed. Okay. Now, other very commonly arriving patients to your clinics are the CA tongues. I don't think so anybody would ever miss a CA tongue. It's very easy to diagnose it. The only problem with diagnosis are the early CA tongues, okay, where the patient tells you there is something but you cannot see anything. So please make it a point that you wear a glove and then palpate the tongue. The consistency of your normal routine tongue and that particular area or that particular patch will be slightly different, which is very easily appreciable to your fingers. So do not forget to palpate the tongue. Don't just observe with a torch because you can miss on an early CA tongue. Okay. So these are the various pictures where you can see CA tongue. One is at the below, that is including the base of the tongue. Then this is including the alveolar margin, teeth and alveolar margin. It will enter into the mandible. Now this is another very classical area where it will require commando when it includes the mandible. Then this is another growth which you can see here. So all these CA tongues, I doubt anybody can ever miss. These are the CA buccal mucosas. Okay, buccal mucosa manna alele swellings. This will appear as if it is coming out. It is coming from the buccal mucosa. There's a huge swelling coming out from buccal mucosa. So she even has a bulge here. If this patient is not treated, eventually there will be a nice ulcer here. So it will be an almost inoperable case. Through and through khadda houn jato बऱ्याच patient मध्ये. So this is another thing. These are varicose ulcers. Varicose ulcers are like warts. असे खरखरीत swellings खडे. तुम्ही एखाद्या समुद्रावरती जाऊन अशा खरखरीत अशा दगडांवरती बसलात की ते तो जो फील आहे ना तसा आहे ते. It's like having a lot of small pebble stones together. So that is varicose ulcers. Okay. These are mucoepidoid dermoid carcinomas. These get easily missed. Thinking ki many patients will tell you खाताना चावलं गेलं आणि तिथे फुगा आला. This will be the classical history that patients can give you. Don't misinterpret them. If you see even if a small mucosal cyst, excise it, send for histopath. Let it come benign. Fair enough. If you wait for it, it becomes this big. Okay. And this is another growth that can be very classically seen in the buccal mucosa. Then there is something called as CA lip. In CA lips, it is again easy to diagnose. Ulcerated, dirty wound with a loss of tissue. Most of the times the structure किंवा tissue loss असतो lips मध्ये. इथे structure lose झालाय. Lips structureच खराब होऊन गेले. इथे बघितलं तर तुम्ही tissue loss झालाय, खड्ड्यासारखं झालाय. Okay? So these are CA lips, carcinoma of the lip. CA breast, all of you must have seen n number of times. Okay? This is the classical one which comes to our practice, or this one for that matter. These come very rare. People, if from villages, have not turned to you at all, then it's a different story. They come with a huge fungating mass or a huge ulcerative growth. This is a huge ulcerative growth. Again, this is a huge ulcerative growth. This picture is interesting because in this picture, we have the other breast also developing malignancy and we have a satellite nodule. That is the reason why I kept this picture. This is classical a satellite nodule. Hela satellite nodule म्हणतात. Okay? They can be multiple. Okay? Multiple satellite nodule येऊ शकतात आणि त्या बाजूच्या हाताला पूर्ण सूज येऊ शकते. ती सूज इतकी कडक असते की ह्याला आर्मर चेस्ट डिफॉर्मिटी पण म्हणतात. ह्याचं चिलखत घालतात ना ह्याच्यात लढाईमध्ये तसं. That is what it is called. Okay? So this is very classical, but it is in the advanced stages. This is completely inoperable case. You cannot do anything for this patient. This is very classically showing the nipple retraction. And here you can see the podo orange effect. Podo orange effect is the hair follicles remain as it is. The lymphatics मुळे तिथे सूज येते lymphatics वाढल्यामुळे आणि हे जे hair follicles आहेत ते आतमध्ये खड्ड्यात डिप झाल्यासारखं feeling येतं. So it is classical of an orange appearance. Orange आपण जे खातो संत्र मोसंबी त्याचं जे appearance आहे वरचं ते कवरिंगचं तसं appearance. So that is, hence it is called as Porto orange effect. Okay, so this is a Porto orange. This is very classical. I am sure you all have been through these cases. The another case that usually the male doctors come across is with CA penis. These patients are very shy. They do not go to the females by default. And even going to the male doctor, they take such a long time that they are almost in a stage where they have to amputate their penis. Okay. And of course, you have to by default, but at least थोडंफार जे काही पेनिस तुम्ही वाचवू शकता ते पण पॉसिबल नसतं, इतक्या डिलेड स्टेज मध्ये येतात. Now look at this man, the entire glans of the penis is eaten up. It's gone. It's eroded because of the malignancy. This is another spilled over growth of SCC. This is another ulcerative growth on the glans. These are something like brotty, varicose ulcers on the penis that you can see. Again, असे काटे काटे typical असे sand pebbles kept together asa. Okay. Then there are of course some traumatic swellings. They are very classical of any trauma history. You will have a preceding trauma history given to by these patients. You will have huge hematomas, which are very classical. You can feel them. They will be a little tender. They can have different colors depending on the aging of that hematoma. First, it will be nothing. It will be just a lump, just a swelling. Later on, it will be a red color, coloration, discoloration of the swelling. Then it turning into bluish hue, turning into yellowish hue, a slight light green color, and all these different. So as the hematoma starts resolving, you get this different classical colors. Okay. There are many questions. I'll be answering them. Just give me a few minutes till I finish my slide. Okay, movements with deglutition. There are certain swellings which move with deglutations, which you should be able to diagnose. So these swellings are thyroid swelling, of course, we all know, thyroglossal cyst, thyroglossal fistulas, subhyoid bursae, pre and paratracheal lymph nodes, and extrinsic carcinomas of the larynx. These are certain swellings which they move with your what you call with your deglutition. Okay. Now this is something called a thyroglossal cyst. Now, one sec, I'll just minimize this for a while. So this is foramen cecum. This is the tongue. Tongue मध्ये मागे इथे foramen cecum असतं. Okay, this is the thyroglossal cyst that is formed, and it gets adhered down here near the thyroid gland. This is the thyroid cartilage. This is the basic anatomy which all of us know. So thyroglossal duct descends from the base of the tongue towards the lower neck to the level of the second or the third tracheal ring. Failure of obliteration म्हणजे closure. Okay, failure of closure leads to the cyst formation. म्हणजे हे जर close झालं नाही, obliterate झाली नाही, तर इथे thyroglossal cyst form होते. Okay, most common site is subhyoid area. Rarely may be the only functioning thyroid tissue in the body. Could be functioning thyroid tissue. You have to operate this. There is no other option. So it needs to be operated. It will move with deglutition or with protrusion of the tongue. Because why? Not just deglutition, but with the protrusion of the tongue, because this is adhered to the tongue in the in foramen cecum. So when you protrude the tongue, it will move. Okay. Next is the thyroglossal. This is to be continued. Sorry. The clinical features over here are mostly in children, but may also be present in adult. Almost always arise in the midline. They're usually in the midline by default because of the cecum, the foramen cecum, and the entry into the neck. Then, but it can be slightly deviated from the midline, moves upwards on swallowing and with tongue protrusion. So it will move, okay, with the tongue protrusion. Remember, it will move with the tongue protrusion. That is very classical of this. May become infected and rupture into the skin and the neck and present as discharging sinuses. It can form from cyst, it can go into sinus, which is very classical. Then the treatment, of course, as you all know, it is the excision of the thyroglossal tract. This entire tract gets excised and removal of the body of the hyoid. The little body of the hyoid is also removed. Your operation ला आम्ही cyst trunk operation असं म्हणतो. And this is done because you can prevent the recurrence of the cyst if you remove the entire tract. If you do not remove the entire tract, recurrence is very common. Okay. Now, as we all know, this thyroglossal cyst, they are from unobliterated portion of the thyroglossal cyst. They're painless cystic mass in the midline or in the front of the neck and moves up and down with deglutition and protrusion of the tongue. हे 3 points तुम्हाला माहिती पाहिजे. So this is another classical picture of thyroglossal cyst. Then there's something called as branchial cyst. Now branchial cysts are usually they arrive from the vestigial remnants of the second branchial cleft. So there are different clefts, branchial clefts, and this is from the second branchial cleft that you get a the vestigial म्हणजे जरूरत नसलेला ज्याचा काही उपयोग नाही असा. Okay, so you get these branchial cysts from the vestigial remnant of the second branchial cleft. Lined by the squamous, they are lined by the squamous epithelium and contains thick or turbid fluid. ह्याच्यामध्ये classical fluid असतं with cholesterol crystals. So whenever you press it, किंवा तुम्हाला ते discharging पण दिसू शकतं sometimes. So the features are, this is usually present in the upper neck in the early or middle adulthood मध्ये. At the junction of the upper and the middle third of the sternocleidomastoid muscle च्या मध्ये ते दिसून येणार तुम्हाला. So this is very classical somewhere in this line. Okay, so this is your sternocleidomastoid. So ह्याच्या upper आणि middle च्या मध्ये junction मध्ये usually असे corners ना तुम्हाला त्या दिसून येतात. बरेच वेळा दोन्ही बाजूंना दिसून येतात. Okay, sometimes it appears on both the sides. Remember that. So that is very classic. I'll show you the pictures. So these are the different terminologies. That is, these are the branchial arches. This is the down growth of the second arch. This is called as cleft. हे मध्ये जे खड्डे येतात त्याला आपण cleft म्हणतो. हा sinus form करतो. So this is the second bronchial arch and it creating a sinus. And this will be a fistula. That means connection. Fistula will have connection from one opening to the other opening. Now this is branchial cyst again. This is huge. In this lady, it is seen as a huge cyst. So it is fluctuant swelling that may be transluminant, may get infected and become erythematous or tender. Investigation काय करता येईल तर you can do an ultrasonography and a fine needle aspiration. And fine needle aspiration मध्ये तुम्हाला cholesterol like thick, चिकट, thick secretion मिळतं, which is very classical of branchial cyst, white colored म्हणजे straw colored मध्ये. Treatment is complete excision, which is done best when it is in the non-infected stage. If it is in the infected stage, first treat it with antibiotics, let the infection settle, and then remove the entire branchial cyst. Okay, this is another branchial cyst swelling, which is usually classical between the upper and the middle portion, the midpoint of it of the sternocleidomastoid. Okay, so a brief again. Remnant of embryonic development results from failure of obliteration of the branchial cleft. Then cystic mass like swelling as the between upper and middle third of the anterior wall of the sternocleidomastoid. Presentation usually they are asymptomatic, painful only if infected. Treatment is surgical excision. This is in short gist of what we spoke. Then there is something called as branchial fistulas. Now branchial cysts are usually seen on the top, that is between upper and middle च्या मधल्या junction ला. Whereas in branchial fistulas, they present from the persistent second branchial cleft. So if you see this thing, and these are the clefts as we already told you. So from the second branchial cleft, they are the one which arise. So they become fistulas. Though they arise from the second branchial cleft, they are placed a little lower down because it forms a tract and comes out. So this is a sinus that forms and then it forms into a fistula. Okay. So they represent a persistent second branchial cleft lined by ciliated columnar epithelium. Okay. Clinical features मध्ये lower third of the neck near the anterior border of the sternocleidomastoid मध्ये तुम्हाला दिसून येणार. हे upper ला आहेत in the neck. These are in the lower part of the neck. Okay. In internal orifice मध्ये anterior aspect of the posterior fascicular pillar just behind the tonsil. Tonsil थोडेसेच मागून and fascicular pillars असतात. त्याच्या इथनं ते बाहेर येतात. So that is the area where you find it. So you find it way down. The tonsils are somewhere here. So when it comes down to the lower part of the neck. This is branchial fistulas and they can end in blindly. म्हणजे आतमध्ये it can be closed wall. Okay, to the lateral pharyngeal wall. They can completely end it forming a sinus. It may not be a complete fistula. कारण फिस्टुलाला दोन ओपनिंग पाहिजे. पण एका बाजूचं ओपनिंग म्हणजे आतलं ओपनिंग बरेच वेळा बंद होऊन it can form a sinus. And त्यामुळे recurrent mucopleural discharge. Mucopleural discharge is like literally शेंबूड कसा येतो तसा शेंबडासारखा डिस्चार्ज येत राहतो त्यातनं. Classical. Okay, it is very classical. Mucus type of a discharge which you will see coming out from the neck of small kids. Mostly it is seen in the kids. Fistulogram is must. ह्याच्यामध्ये I have shown you how they do it. They put the dye here so that we can see how far the sinus tract is going, and it requires a complete excision to avoid recurrence. तुम्ही जर हा फिस्टुलोग्राम नाही करून घेतला तर it is very difficult to know where it is going, and then excising, if you do not excise it completely, it can come back. So remember, for branchial fistulas you need to do a fistulogram. So this was just a picture to show you how it looks. Then there's cystic hygromas. These small kids come to you with cystic hygromas. These are due to sequestration of portion of the jugular lymph sac. Basically, nothing but whatever is the lymphatic from the jugular lymph sac gets collected. So there is no communication with any other lymphatic systems. So there is no proper lymph nodes. They don't keep connecting and they don't keep forming other swellings. So it is just related to the jugular lymph sac and forms a huge sac. Usually presence in the neonate. लहान मुलांच्यात दिसून येतं. लहानपणी जन्मतःच दिसून आल्यामुळे बरेच वेळा हे तुमच्यापर्यंत येतच नाही. But it's just a thing which you could come across in case if there are home deliveries. Okay, they are usually present with obstructed labor. Pictures मध्ये हे तुम्हाला classically दिसून येतं. Filled with clear lymph and lined with single layer of epithelium. Remember that. So this hygroma, it is very classical word which will tell you that these swellings are very brilliantly translucent. This is like hydrocele of the neck. It is also called as hydrocele of the neck. They are soft swellings. They are very compressible and sometimes expand rapidly with respiratory difficulty. May become infected. They can become infected. त्यामुळे what was the gist? At birth आहे obstructed label मध्ये दिसून येतं. After birth airway obstruction, aspiration वगैरे monitor करावं लागतं. Sclerosing injections देता येतात ह्याच्यामध्ये which can reduce the size, but you do not attempt it. Me as a surgeon also would not attempt. I would like to give it to the pediatric surgeon. So always there are two options. Either you can completely excise it with definitive surgery or you can give sclerosins into it. Then as treatment, as I've already told you, injection of sclerosin and complete excision. If respiratory tract obstruction असेल तर immediate aspiration and even occasionally tracheostomy लागू शकते. जर त्याचा रेस्पिरेटरी ट्रॅक कंप्रेस होत असेल, ऑब्स्ट्रक्ट होत असेल तर अशा बच्चूंमध्ये तुम्हाला रेस्पिरेटरी डिस्ट्रेस दिसू शकतं आणि इमिजिएट ट्रेकियोस्टॉमी करायला लागू शकते. Then there are certain inflammatory swellings which we all have come across. त्यातनं the most difficult and the most critical swelling which we should all be having, diagnosing earliest and sending the patient earliest for IND is the Ludwig's angina. Imagine it's called an angina. Angina is an emergency which all of you know. Okay, so the term itself, Ludwig's angina, is something where it's a surgical emergency. Immediate incision and drainage is must. Okay, it is the brownie swelling of the submandibular region किंवा mental area मध्ये. Submandibular to mental ह्या area मध्ये तुम्हाला complete swelling, edema, all signs of inflammation will be seen. You will have putrid halitosis. Putrid म्हणजे चडकं किंवा pus like. Okay, putrid is actually pus like. Pus चा वास येतो typically. So you'll have a putrid halitosis. Halitosis is vas, bad breath is halitosis. Virulent streptococci are the ones which cause this. Anaerobic organisms can cause this. This can lead to dysphagia. Patient, it will be so huge that patient may not be able to swallow anything. So it is a very surgical emergency. Broad spectrum antibiotics and abscess drainage is a must in these cases. The other things that you get to see is classical different abscesses where you find erythematous swelling, tenderness, pain, the pus gets drained. There is erythema, that is redness around the entire swelling, may or may not be fluctuant depending. If there is intense amount of pus, it may not be fluctuant. It will be all because everything is filled with pus. There is no area to move. So the three main types that you get in this is pyogenic abscesses, pyemic abscesses, and cold abscesses. Cold abscesses are one which is tuberculosis. Remember, cold abscesses मध्ये तुम्ही जरी समजा चुकून प्रॅक्टिस मध्ये ह्याला ऍस्पिरेट करणार असाल, कुठलाही ऍब्सेस असू दे, इफ यू आर नॉट शुअर whether this is cold abscess or this is any other abscess, try aspirating on a non-dependent area. Do not aspirate from dependent. Dependent म्हणजे ग्रॅव्हिटीला ज्या साईडला आहे तो. कारण जर cold abscess तुम्ही चुकून aspirate केला from the dependent side, you can form a fistula from there. So might as well always go on a non-dependent area वरून. So that once you aspirate, परत ते बाहेर सारखं येणार नाही, whichever, whatever it is. So aspirate from a non-dependent area. Gravity ते act करत नाही असा area मधनं aspirate करा. So these are the abscess, the localization of polymorphonuclear cells occur in the tissue. Necrosis debris होतात, subcutaneous tissue खाल्ला जातो. Commonest organism is Staph aureus ह्याच्यामध्ये. This is another ill-defined margin wala abscess on the foot, which is very classically, which comes to you. Remember, this is the abdominal wall abscess, abdominal wall. The classical, all signs of inflammation when they are there, it is an abscess, remember. And it's always tender. This is an infected sebaceous cyst, which is caused an abscess because there's a punctum here. So this is an infected sebaceous cyst. Okay. Slip sign will be missing. So I've shown you this. So now these are these different abscesses. Remember one dictum which my senior teacher had taught. Of course, many of you must be knowing him also, Dr. Sudhir Shinde sir. It is his words. Abscess anywhere and everywhere needs to be out of the body. Okay, this is very classical words of Sudhir Shinde sir, which have been fixed into my mind. So wherever you see an abscess, please do not give them antibiotics and ask them to come after a few hours. Tell them, no, I will not give you. I will drain it. Always drain the abscess out. Do not give them antibiotics. All these patients are reluctant to get, nahi tumhe औषध द्या जरा बरं वाटेल. Don't do that because it forms an antibioma and that swelling remains there as a कडक and then the patient will keep on eating your brain. हे अजून जात नाही, अजून जात नाही. So might as well abscess anywhere and everywhere on the body has to be drained. Okay. This is another slip sign of lipoma and Dercum's disease, which I already told you about, where you have multiple lipomas. I'll just brief you a bit about it. It is a rare disease of unknown etiology. There's no etiology to it. Characterized by generalized obesity, fatty tumors of adipose tissue. So usually these people are obese and they are painful if pressure is applied. Otherwise not, maybe because of the nerves getting entrapped. So treatment wise, there's no specific treatment per se, but analgesics sometimes may be given if they are very painful. Removal of lesions near the joints. ते lipomas जर joints जवळ असेल आणि त्यांना दुखत असेल तर तेवढे तुम्ही काढू शकता. काही लोकांना liposuction आवडतं, but if it is huge and if you do a liposuction, it's okay. And psychotherapy, the psychological therapy. So these are the different these are the Dercum's disease, multiple lipomas which have got accumulated everywhere in her body. Now there is no space for them to blow up, so they do not appear with like distinguishing swellings. Neurofibromas, which we spoke about, they are the tumors containing both neural and fibrous elements. Remember that. So these can be painful because there are neural and fibrous elements. They are again generalized, as we already saw it. Multiple असतात, firm असतात. त्याच्यामध्ये एक आहे, there can be even Cafe-Lue patches म्हणून पण neurofibromas होतात. I'll show you this. I have this picture. They are familial, म्हणजे families मधनं they run through families. They are tender, mobile across or along the nerve. They can move along the nerve. Okay. So this is the event. आधी आपण बघितलेले आहे picture neurofibromatosis. Now look at these patches. These are the Cafe-Lue patches. Okay, coffee colored Cafe-Lue patches. This is again classical of neurofibromatosis. These are the ones which are along with the nerves, so they can move along with nerves. Okay. Lastly, they can be solitary, firm, tender. They can move across nerves and also can present as with patches. So now these are the cafe au lait patches, which can be very, very easily seen. This is along with a nerve. This is not a nerve, please, but I'm just telling you that this comes along with the nerve. Plexiform neurofibromas. There are certain which are cystic, common in the face, and they cause deformities. Remember that. They occur in connection with branches of the trigeminal nerve. Trigeminal nerve च्या branches मध्ये येतात ते. Plexiform cystic neuro So these plexiform cysts which forms, they are usually in the trigeminal nerve and they have a sensation of bag of worms as well. So look at this female. She has a plexiform cyst, which is at the near the trigeminal nerve area. So this is as if there is a bag of worm sitting there. That is what they explain it. Bag of worm otherwise is in the varicocele. So these are plexiform neurofibromas. These are different varieties. हे सगळे ट्रायजेमाइनल नर्वच्याच अवतीभोवती फिरताना दिसतात. So this is another classical. This is another classical. Now this guy doesn't have it at the trigeminal nerve, but the other thoracic nerves getting involved can lead into this plexiform neurofibromas. They are pretty painful. Okay. So that's all with my lecture. I have tried to cover many things, but I don't know. I mean, if you have any questions, you can please ask me.